I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. I think show us the house. People know where they want to buy for the most part. We're going to do the research as we go forward. I don't think it's needed. Keep it off.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt. That is Shawn, and welcome to our show, Shawn. Wednesday, December the 3rd, we're going to be talking about Zillow removing climate data from their home listings. Shawn, December 3rd, how was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was great, actually. I mean, right now, our real estate market isn't very busy. I have a couple active listings. There's not a ton of activity, so I actually got to relax over the weekend. However, my daughter was sick, so she wasn't able to go to Thanksgiving with us, and I threw my back out. So
did you open up the laptop on Thanksgiving Day?
I did not, and that is very rare for me. You always get that Thanksgiving contract, right? It's like, dude, really, it has to be on Thanksgiving. This is the day that everybody's chilling, and it happens. I've done it so many times where I'm negotiating deals and not wanting to be bothered on Thanksgiving, and it happens. But this year, thankfully, and as I get older, I'm like, don't bother me. Like, just leave me alone on Thanksgiving, please.
Well, I bet there are some listings that you wish you had gotten a contract.
Yeah, I was getting some action the day before and the day after, and I was like, all right, well, hey, I need something to go under contract, so I'll do it, And naturally, if somebody calls, I'm going to take the call, or I'll call them back when it's convenient. But typically, we work a lot. But Thanksgiving this year was nice. It was calm, and got to spend time with the family. How was yours? Good?
Good. Yeah, I mean, it's good when everyone can kind of just take a pause and take a deep breath.
Yeah.
All right, Shawn, let's get into the article. It comes to us from the New York Times. Zillow removes climate risk scores from home listings. The scores aimed to predict a property's risk from fires, floods, and storms, but some in the real estate industry, as well as homeowners, have called them inaccurate. So essentially, instead of enabling the scores upfront, Zillow now provides a link to the data from the provider First Street Foundation, meaning the risk information is still available, but only if the buyers click through. Now, what was happening was real estate agents were saying that the visible risk score, so you see it at Zillow listings, like, the flood risk could be like an 8 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. Agents were saying that those were hurting sales because prospective buyers were scared off by what they viewed to be alarmingly high risk rates. Some individual sellers also publicly complained, arguing that their properties were being stigmatized and selling for much less or staying on the market for too long as a result of the high risk score. This is one of the big complainers was the California CRMLS. So out in California Regional Multiple Listing Service. The background of the scores, Zillow introduced the feature in September 2024, so a little over a year ago, using First Street's data. The scores attempted to forecast a property's vulnerabilities over 30 years, including flood, fire, wind, extreme heat, and air quality risk. The aim was to help prospective buyers and homeowners better understand long-term climate risks when considering a property. Early data from Zillow's own research suggested that homes with extreme flood or fire risk were significantly less likely to sell. When they did sell, they would take longer and went for a discount. So, Shawn, what are your thoughts on, first of all, do you look at this stuff? Is this on your radar? I mean, what, pun intended, I guess. What are your thoughts on Zillow removing this information?
All right. Honestly, I didn't even know it was there. So, we live in an area that we are not really worried about climate risk, thankfully. So I don't think I got to be honest, I don't think it's necessary. I think that, first of all, didn't know it was there. I went on it today and I was like, oh, okay, here it is. There's a subheading in Realtor.com. It's still there. So I went to Realtor.com and looked at it. I think that here's the thing. Don't we know where things happen, right? We know that Southern California is susceptible to wildfires. We know that the Midwest is susceptible to hurricane or tornadoes, Tornado Alley. We know where those areas are. We know that Southern Florida is susceptible to hurricanes. So you kind of already know that. And me, when I look at properties, I love Bradenton Beach, Florida, or, Southern Florida, anywhere that's warm that has beach. I think people understand that there is a risk, an inherent risk of purchasing a property on an island, near a beach, near water, and where hurricanes happen or where wildfires happen. And so me personally, I already know that risk, right? Don't you pretty much know that where you're buying is probably going to be risky or not risky? I don't necessarily think that needs to be there. I think the way that Zillow is doing it right now is the right way to do it. I don't think Realtor.com having scary. Okay, well, how many times has this affected this particular house? That's the question, right? How many times have you flooded? How many times has your house burned down because of wildfires? Probably zero, right? Like there are some, over the last year, we've seen devastation because of wildfires. But is that a risk that's always happening for that house? How many times has it happened? You know, that's what we really need is the real data. How many times has this house flooded? That's what I need to know. I don't need to know the risk of the general area. I think we already kind of know that.
Well, Shawn, if you were selling your house and I came to your open house and I asked you, hey, how many times is your house flooded? You don't have to tell me that. That is information. If it's flooded 10 times in the past week, you don't have to tell me that. So no one is pretending that this information are disclosures. No one's saying that. I think that you're giving a lot of credence to buyers and buyers doing their due diligence. In my experience, buyers show up to the open house. They show up with their agent. They tour a property for 15 minutes and then decide if they want to buy it or not. They're not going and looking at the FEMA flood map or the wind risk. By the way, I don't even know what wind risk is, but they're not looking at the fire maps or any sort of issues like that. They're deciding instantly. And now what Zillow is introducing, by the way, I mean, did you know walkability scores on Zillow? Did you know great schools are on Zillow? So you know these things.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so yeah, I know this is a newer feature. It's been on there. If you scroll on the number one site, Zillow, for home buying, like it's pretty clear that the climate risk scores are there.
Yeah.
But if you're a consumer and you're on that site, I guarantee you that's now top of mind. You're now thinking about it.
Sure.
So even if it is, inaccurate, it's now a conversation starter of like, oh wait, what does this 6 out of 10 flood score mean? Do I need can we look more into this? So even if it's inaccurate data, I mean, it still may be a conversation starter.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But inaccurate data causes fear. And I think that's the problem is a fear-based system like that would naturally push people away. And so that's the problem that people are having. They're like, wait a second, my house has never burned down. Why is my fire risk a 9 out of 10? Just because it happened, up the street doesn't mean it's going to happen here. Or maybe things have changed because of, new regulations in the county or something like that. So I think the fear-based buying system, it's good to have information. Believe me, I want you to have all the information. I think a link to the website is fine, is good enough. I don't think having a 9 out of 10 when this house has never burned down or a 9 out of 10 if this, now where I think, go ahead.
No. So it sounds like you're saying the issue is data accuracy. So you don't really have an issue with them displaying it. It's that it might not be correct because some people in the article were complaining that it said, hey, my house on Main Street has a 7 out of 10, flood risk, and the house next door has a 1 out of 10 flood risk, and that's wrong. And so that was kind of the crux of the inaccuracy. So these scores could be, too alarmist or maybe too early for prime time. It's a third-party site. These third-party sites, like Great Schools, like whatever I called it, first something, like Walkability. I mean, they sell intrigue and they sell clicks.
Right.
They want people to, what school ranking is this? Let me click further. But they're collecting data. This isn't like this isn't the number of bedrooms. This isn't the number of bathrooms. This is an algorithmic, nebulous kind of score that they're putting together. And so, if this isn't, I don't want to say 100%, bulletproof, but if this isn't strongly accurate, you're going to have significant issues.
Yeah, and that's the problem with any data. It's like it can be manipulated. We don't know. These people are there for profit. This company, First Street, is there for profit. They're a corporation. They're going to, they want clicks, just like you said. And so they want to sell their data to Zillow, to Realtor.com. And I think, they've got to be paying for it. Realtor.com has got to be paying a service fee for using this data, right? They have to. And so what better way, how do you increase profits? That's the problem is there could be data manipulation in this. And I'm not saying there is, but there could be. And that's where this disconnect of why am I getting an 8 out of 10? Is it really that bad? And the thing is, here's what I think should be displayed on Zillow, Realtor.com, any of these big sites. It's not climate stuff. And this is the one thing that's lacking. And it's a huge part. insurance. Can I get property insurance for this particular property? What is my risk of not getting property insurance? Do I have to get flood insurance? Do I have to get fire insurance? Do I have to get this? That should be what is there. Because when I bought a beach house, I didn't know, I'm buying on the water. I didn't know that my particular insurance company that I use for this house and for all my cars and everything else would not give me insurance for a beach house. They didn't care what the flood risk was. They will not insure anything on the water. So that's what you need to know. And, there's costs associated with this. And where this gets into risk aversion or risk taking is that when you are signing a contract to purchase a property, you're going to have a finance contingency. And in some of these areas like South Florida, they can get very competitive. You're competing against other buyers. How are you going to win that offer? You're going to waive your finance contingency. But did you know that part of that finance contingency is insurance? If you cannot get insurance for the property, the lender will not lend to you. So if you waive your finance contingency and you're not able to get insurance, you're gone. You lost your deposit. You could get sued because you can no longer close on that deal. You have to then find a lender that maybe will do some sort of other deal or whatever. So I think the most important thing of any of this is insurance. How do I get insurance? Can I get insurance? What are the insurance types that I need for this property?
Well, the big thing for me was could there be a checkbox of either this property requires flood insurance or doesn't require flood insurance? Now, I don't know enough about flood insurance, property insurance to say, oh, well, maybe this company can give me property insurance and this company cannot give me property insurance. One of the additional issues with posting, the FloodFactor, which is a made-up thing, is that you can actually search by the FloodFactor and only narrow down by properties that have a low flood score. And so you can essentially eliminate maybe a handful of houses that could have worked for you otherwise and could have some data inaccuracies based on, limiting factor of a filter in a Zillow search.
Yeah.
So that could be an issue.
There's FEMA, right? FEMA controls the flood maps for the most part, as far as I know. And there are, 100-year flood maps. And, those things change all the time because of climate change and everything else and, data, whatever. But that's the strange thing is you were saying, oh, this house needs this insurance or this house gets a score of this, but the house down the street gets a much lower score. Well, I'll tell you that when I bought my house, I didn't need flood insurance. I don't need flood insurance for my house. But the one at the end of the road does. And they're more susceptible for the push of the water, right? And so that's probably why. And so there are factors to this. That's what they're putting into this risk. But, I think it's good to have a link, but to be an alarmist like that, I don't know.
Well, Zillow's trying to do what they can to make it useful for home buyers, right? They're not trying to, manipulate or do any sort of foul play. I mean, there's obviously some sort of financial agreement, between First Street and Zillow and all these other walk score situation. But it does beg the question is, are they acting in the best interest of the consumer or are they just protecting the transaction pipeline? Because ultimately, Zillow wants these houses to sell, right? They don't want to, bite the hand that feeds them, with the California, regional MLS. So when the MLS produces data, this is rock solid data. I mentioned it earlier. It's bedrooms, it's bathrooms, it's square footage. Now everyone knows that, Zillow will massage that square footage number, move the below grade square footage to the above grade and make the house look larger. But ultimately, Zillow is pulling from the MLS data. The MLS data doesn't have, the walk score, doesn't have these third party sources. And the MLS is wary of third-party sources, as they should be, because they can be inaccurate. So it begs the question of, what information should Zillow be showing? Should they be showing climate data? Should they be showing school data? Because you can have, a 5 out of 10 school, and that could scare some people off, and you go to the school, and you're like, oh, this is a great school. Now, Zillow even used to have crime data.
Yeah.
Now, I think it was removed about 5 years ago, but crime data is maybe the only thing out of everything that we're talking about that is easily publicly accessible and actually factual from the real source. It's not a made up Zestimate. It's not a made up flood factor or flood score. It's the real thing. And of course you can't have crime anymore. So where does the buck stop with All right. Schools are okay. Okay, walkability is okay. Let's push a little on climate. Oh wait, we got some pushback, so we'll remove climate. Where do you draw the line there?
Get rid of it all.
Get rid of it all.
Do we have it in our system? Do we need it in our system? We have disclosures. We have a disclosure that says, hey, you're close to an airport. We have disclosures that say, hey, you're in a flood risk area.
Because agents can't, sorry to cut you off, agents, we can't talk about schools.
Right.
So like, why even have that so close to the agent? I mean, how often do you market the walk score?
Zero.
Are you a big,
hey, people know that I'm close to the metro.
Who cares if the walk score is a 96 or a 93? And ultimately, if your walk score is like a 0 out of 10, people don't care either because they're not going to be buying that house for the walk score.
Right. That's exactly it. I mean, we don't have these things on our MLS, so why do you have it on your Zillow or whatever? I don't think it's, I think it should be, hey, think about these things. Do you care about these things? But in the end, when we're showing houses, especially out in Fairfax County, you're not looking at the walk score. You're looking at the walk score because you're close to metro, or you're just far away from metro, and I still don't use it. So I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. I think show us the house. People know where they want to buy for the most part. We're going to do the research as we go forward. I don't think it's needed. Keep it off.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can see why. It's like it's causing confusion. It's causing people not to purchase properties based on fear that maybe they wouldn't have had. Maybe it's good that they know this stuff. I think it's good to do your research, but you can do that research on your own. If you're a home buyer, if I'm buying something in South Florida, I'm going to do my research and say, all right, can I get insurance here? What are my costs? Like, these are things that are involved. How often has this area flooded? Our friend bought a place down in Anna Maria Island, and it's just like a beautiful spot. I went there right before we had our first baby, and I was like, what is this place? This is like the coolest little spot to own a property or to be. And it's like paradise, right? And so naturally you want to buy a property there. And what happened? She went under contract and a hurricane was coming through, right? Was coming through, and she was like, oh no, like, what's going to happen? And luckily nothing happened. Then a week later, a second hurricane comes through and it floods the basement, it floods the property. Did she not buy the property? No, she bought the property anyways because she wanted her piece of paradise. And that's what the risk that people will take because they already know pretty much what's going to happen there. Like if I'm buying them there, I'm like, well, there's a chance that I could get blown away by a hurricane. So the risk. That's my opinion.
Are buyers dumb? I think buyers are smarter than, like, we don't need an algorithm for everything.
Yes.
Right? It's like, oh, we need an algorithm to know how walkable it is. Why don't you go to the property? Okay, some people are buying, sight unseen. I mean, there's a big risk involved there.
Why is it there? It's there to keep people on the site, right? They don't want you to go to another site. They're going to show it on their site. But I think Zillow's doing the right thing by just displaying the information, right?
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun to see.
It's fun to have a score. It's fun to have an icon.
Yeah.
It's fun to have like different colors, like, ooh, 7 out of 10, like on schools. Ooh, like 96% walk score.
Yeah. Well, listen, Zillow is a lot like shopping for cars. Like, we go on there just to kind of scroll to see, oh, wouldn't it be great to live here? What does it cost here? And we're on there. And that's what I do if I'm looking outside of the area. I just go on and like kind of dream, But I've never scrolled down to see what are the schools like or what are this like. That's not why I'm buying the property. Maybe that is the driving factor for some people, and it definitely is in some instances.
I don't know who decided that great schools is going to be the end-all, be-all of deciding where everyone's going to live.
Correct, because one person's school might be perfect for them. The other, it's such a diverse way of thinking. Like, there's so many people that think differently about a school, right? And some people could rate it great. Other people could rate it on different factors for something else, right? And so it's not going to be for everyone. Every school is not going to be for everyone. Every 10 school is not going to be like, wow, this is a great school. Some people are going to hate it, So it's arbitrary. And that's the thing, is having arbitrary data on there that is based on people's opinions. It's not good, So I think maybe it's based on different factors, test scores, things like that. Sure. But I mean, there's a lot of arbitrary stuff that goes in here, a lot of opinions that go in here. And that's why I think any opinionated stuff should be pulled off.
So when you bought your house, how important was the flood factor? Did you look at those numbers? The wind factor, the fire risk?
None, zero.
Are you interested in learning about them? Because I have them pulled up.
Yeah, pull it up.
So do you want to know, do you want to guess what your flood factor is out of 10?
6.
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10.
6.
And I'm on the water. I don't even know.
You're on the water?
Oh, here?
Here.
Oh, you're talking here. Okay, yeah. I thought
No, here.
Ocean City property.
No.
Oh, 1. Yeah, 1.
Yeah,
Okay.
1 out of 10.
Exactly.
Well, I really should do the flood factor for the house.
For the beach house, yeah.
All right, fire factor. What are we at?
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. Heat factor. Apparently, this is a thing.
3 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Gets humid.
Due to a changing environment, this property's heat risk is increasing.
7 out of 10. Do you know what I'll tell you about this? I've been coming to DC for 25, 30 years. It's always been hot as hell here.
Okay.
It's humidity. But
Apparently, this winter is supposed to be like the coldest winter in like 10 years. Or
yeah,
something like
seasons change year to year. Everything changes. You know, some years we have a snowmageddon. Some years we have really hot summers. Like to grade a 7 out of 10, yeah, it's hot here. People have to know that it's humid. That's the difference. Humidity.
All right. How about wind factor?
2.
4 out of 10.
4.
Come on, you better watch those shingles.
4 out of 10. I mean, like everybody has storms. Everybody has storms.
Air factor, air health factor.
Air quality factor, probably a 4.
3 out of 10. So I did go on firststreet.org. Key insights for this property. There are facilities near this property that release toxic pollution into the air.
Are you serious?
Residents of this property breathe worse air quality than others.
Wow.
Oh, let's find out how close these toxic. Oh, I have to start a free trial. That's how they get you.
Oh.
So I can tell you about the toxins in the air and how close these facilities are to your babies and your dog and your wife, but you got to pay for it.
Yeah, there you go.
Got to pay for it.
Pay for it, subscribe, emails, you know, it's big business.
Well, getting back to it, all of this is there. Zillow is obviously a forward-thinking. I mean, the MLS moves so slowly; they would never do such a thing.
Of course,
but Zillow is always going to push the envelope and always going to, try to figure out what keeps people on the sites the longest, what gets clicks. But genuinely thinking they were trying to help out the consumer. Could there be any other non-real estate, like not about the house information on Zillow that you could see being helpful for buyers? I mean, this could be things like commute score, like, hey, 64% of people from Burke, Virginia commute to the Pentagon, and that's, that's this far away. Or maybe they list the internet speeds. I mean, that can be kind of difficult with the ever-changing providers and
cell phone data,
time of day.
Oh my God.
Oh, hey, you can get data, but like if there's a condo building and it says, oh, you can't get cell phone reception in this building, that's just going to tank the sales.
Well, and it's true. Like even in my house, it's hard to get cell phone coverage. Like it'll cut out. It's so annoying.
Okay. So like, how would you like it? Because there's different cell phone providers. Because what's to say your provider doesn't get service and another provider does?
And that's the big question. And so like, what if that was up there? You get a 1 out of 10, and people are like, I'm not buying that house. I can't get cell phone service. So yeah, that would be a negative.
So basically, I'm asking what non-real estate related items should be on a real estate website.
I think what we could do is start a thing it's called ratemyneighbor.com.
Yeah.
Is my neighbor a jerk? 7 out of 10, 4 out of 10. Yeah. Is he crazy? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think, you're either going to buy the house or not. You find the horror stories after you purchase something that your neighbor is a nutcase. You just never know. These are the risks that you take when purchasing a house. There's a lot of risks. You never know when your tree's going to fall in the house. And that happened to so many people just two years ago when a huge storm came through. You never know. Tree coverage, is that something that we should have? Canopy coverage, like there are areas of this county and Fairfax County that flaunt how much tree coverage they have. Oh, you're not going to get it's going to be cooler in here. But what's your risk of a tree falling on your house? It's a lot higher, And so insurance companies are going to be looking at how many trees you have in your yard. Yeah, have you had them pruned? This is the kind of stuff that is important. Insurance. That's what needs to be on the sites.
Shawn's a big insurance guy.
Well, it's because it's becoming more risky. And that's the thing is people don't understand that. They don't know that, hey, how old's your roof? They're asking this question. How old is the roof of the property that you're purchasing? Is it over 15 years? Do you know that it's over 15 years? If it is, we ain't insuring you until you replace the roof. And that becomes a problem. And so this is coming up more and more. Insurance is my father-in-law called me. He lives in Florida. And he's like, my insurance company's telling me I need to replace my roof or else they're not going to insure me anymore. I'm like, and this was 5 years ago. I was like, what are you talking about? I've never heard of that. So buckle up, because insurance is the biggest thing now, I think, that is changing contracts and changing your ability to purchase. And so it's important that you do the research before you do it. I didn't know when I purchased my beach house the insurance risk. I knew there was going to be a risk, but I didn't know certain companies would just say no, zero, right?
Regarding the roof, aren't issues and situations happening with buyers under contract where, they're seeing a home inspection report or they're seeing, the roof is more than 20 years old, we can't insure it.
Yeah.
And they have to replace it before closing, something like that?
That's exactly what's happening. And I actually had this happen to a townhouse that I listed, went under contract. Thankfully, they didn't have a contingency for finance or home inspection or anything. It was waived. And they asked how old the roof was. And I was like, we don't know. I would say base it on its original. I didn't realize anything was going to happen. Well, they were denied insurance from like 2 or 3 different insurance companies. And then finally, the one that they went with said, you have to replace this and show proof of the replacement within 6 months of purchasing the property. And so that's what they had to do. So I was getting them roof estimates and everything. So it's a reality. And so you need to know that roof longevity is a thing with insurance companies, flood risks, fire risks, everything, wind risk. I mean, these are huge things. And, flood risk is like, where does the flood come from? Does it come from the ground or is it coming from the ocean? Those are different things in policies that make them not cover you. And that's the problem with insurance is they're always going to find that little way. How can we manipulate this? Let's have them pay for the flood insurance. But if it comes from this way, we're not covering it.
If you say flood, they don't cover. If you say leak, they cover.
Yeah.
It's a gray area.
It's gray. It's just insurance. Insurance is a crock, in my opinion, but it's needed for all of these properties. And there's properties in Florida that no insurance company will touch. And so you're sitting there with an investment of whatever it is, and if something comes, it's on you, So be careful of that.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Be sure to drop a comment down below on if you think Zillow should still have these kind of estimates. I think they're never going to get rid of this estimate, right? That's kind of just, they're going to have that's the ship that they're going to go down in. But these other nebulous scores that they produce clearly have some downsides. So I'm curious if you guys think that they should keep the rankings for the climate or if they should get rid of these rankings.
And last comment I will say is when you look at algorithms, all right, right now, OneStreet is the company that is providing this data. But if you had another company providing data, it would probably be different. And then another company providing data would probably be different. And so that's the problem. When you look at algorithms for properties, I went on a listing appointment the other day, and I always look up the algorithms on 3 different algorithms. One said $1 million. One said $960,000. The other one said $880,000. So there was a discrepancy of $120,000 difference. So you have to be careful.
What did the Balgorithm say?
What's that?
The Balgorithm said
saying under 900.
Under 899.
899.
That's what's most important. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. For Shawn and myself, we will see you next time.
Take care.